Hey guys, Tetos here. This is my top lane Lulu guide. I will talk about standard runes, masteries, skill order, item builds, and the game plan on how to win your games, especially what your goals should be in the early game, in the mid game, and in the late game. Let's start the guide with some basic rune recommendations. You can see here two choices you can make, or two rune pages you can choose from. The first is a standard rune page, which I'm playing with in about 90 to 95% in all of my games. And the second one is a special rune page, which is slightly different, which you can use when playing against a full AD team, or at least an AD top lane and enemy AD jungler. So the only difference you can see is that in the second rune page you don't have magic resist glyphs but ability power glyphs, and this is obviously because if you're facing a full AD team you don't need the magic resist that much, if not at all. So you can swap these out. Otherwise the AP, the magic penetration, and the armor is essential in the top lane as far as I'm concerned, because ability power and magic penetration just is the best for Lulu's kit because she's an AP top laner, and the armor is very helpful in many scenarios. For example, if the jungler ganks you, if you're playing against an AD lane, even if you don't play against AD champions, it's very useful against the early minion damage, because that can add up to quite a bit and cost you trades, and even more than that, sometimes you get killed because you miscalculate or underestimate the minion damage. So keep that in mind. Armor seals are just a great choice in the top lane. For your masteries, I recommend going 21, 0 and 9. The reason why this is so strong is because of a certain mastery in the utility tree, which gives you minus 10% cooldown reduction on your summoner spells. And as you will see later on, I recommend running teleport and flash, and both of these spells have 5 minutes cooldown. And if you run these 10% reduction masteries, they become available more frequently, more often, and it's just a great choice overall. Basically, a second page you could be using is a certain setup against early all-ins, which is 2190. But I like the early mana regeneration, I like the improved pots, I like the improved recall, because it just gives you a slight edge early on, and Lulu is pretty safe, especially in the mid and late game, but in early game you have some troubles against some champions, so if you're really scared against your enemy, you can run these masteries against early all-ins, which help you a bit with improved health regeneration, an improved HP pool, and some improved trading abilities, some defensive abilities, so to say, because you get less damage from auto attacks from champions. Other than that, the offense tree is staying the same. Just spec all the AP masteries, some cool reduction, also get the improved minion damage, because it can be quite difficult to last it with Lulu actually, considering that you do very low auto attack damage without the passive, and also obviously you want to get hybrid penetration, get the improved 3% damage, the ultimate talent. Yeah, nothing to explain here really. For summoner spells, teleport flash is definitely at the moment the best combination you can take or pick. I suggest getting teleport in most cases, because the free back you get from it to buy your chalice early pretty much solves any mana issues Lulu is having in the early game. Also, flash is just an amazing overall spell with a lot of utility as well, and can be used in so many ways. You can flash to get in range for your shield or ultimate to save an ally. You can use it to escape or to chase enemies across walls. You can use it to flash after an enemy to finish him off with E and Q, or you can just use it to dodge enemy abilities. It's just so useful and versatile. Definitely pick up these two summoner spells. As you can see, the skill order for Lulu top lane should be R, Q, E, W. And this means that you always put a point in R if possible, then if this is not possible, you always put a point in Q, then in E, and then in W. The reason for this is that R should always be skilled first, obviously because it's your ultimate and it's a very powerful one in that category. Then Q needs to be maxed first because of the amazing wave clear and damage it provides. You max E second because it can boost your damage as well as your defense. And you max W last because 1 point is all you need basically at first to speed yourself or allies up, or to polymorph enemies in order to cancel their spells or assassination attempts. Of course, the skill order only applies after you reach level 3, because putting a point in each spell or a rank in each spell is way more beneficial than, for example, going Q, E, Q, because the W is very important for escaping ganks, for example. For everybody who doesn't know how to build top lane Lulu or AP carries in general, I've created this item cheat sheet. For Lulu top lane, the item build will be quite similar every game, but you have some differences which I will talk about now. But first off, as you can see, the trinket star is always the warding totem, so no matter what your standard star is, always pick the warding totem for the extra ward. On your first back, you should either pick up boots and an early chalice, or boots and finish your Seeker's Arm Guard if you're facing a heavy AD lane or difficult AD lane. Otherwise, you should consider picking up Distortion every game in the early to mid game, because it's just so good, considering it gives a large cooldown reduction to teleport and flash, and also you get some additional effects on these spells. For example, for teleport you get a bonus movement speed for 3 seconds, and for flash it's a 1 second bonus movement speed, which is quite handy and not many people know this. Also, it's very important to buy wards, vision wards or green or pink wards, and sell your warding totem for the sweeping lens or oracle lens later throughout the game. It's just very important to help secure objectives, to help win the vision war. Basically, it's just crucial to winning games. The cheat sheet is pretty self-explanatory though, so I'm not going to cover everything. I already put little hints or tooltips, so to say, below the icons or items, so you can see why you should pick these up and under which conditions. Let's move on to the early game plan or your early game goals. Your number one goal should be CS. Just last hit as good as possible. And this can be a bit tricky at first because the auto attack animation is pretty weird at first. And your auto attack enhancer only hits the enemy or enemy target a bit later. Keep in mind that you need to ward at around minute 3 to avoid jungle ganks, because early ganks can help the enemy snowball in the top lane and you don't want that obviously. In this case, Udyr tries to gank top, but my warding totem spotted it, or spotted him rather, and I can just go a bit back and play a bit safer. Against Pantheon with red buff in this case, you don't want to overextend. You have to abuse your range, which is very long with Glitter Lance or E and Glitter Lance, because if you shield an ally or an enemy, you can use Glitter Lance from the enemy you hit, and this increases your range by a lot. Against an easier laning opponent, for example like Alistar, you can definitely bully him around though, and try to put in as many auto attacks between last hitting as possible. If you're a good Lulu player, you will try to hit your Q on him and the minions, so you don't actually lose last hits you would otherwise lose. Even if he's under his turret, you can still hurt him with auto attacks because of your big auto attack range, but keep in mind that you might get ganked and you don't want to die lots and lots of times, so try to survive with your whimsy, speed yourself up, try to dodge skill shots and stuff like that. If you get ganked often, you have to keep in mind that you're relieving pressure of the map elsewhere, so this is actually a good thing, especially if you're Lulu, because she's one of the few top laners who can function very well without items, without last hits, without kills, and she's still a very strong asset to any team. In this case, the jungler got 2 kills at the bottom lane, while Lee Sin got nothing. After you hit level 6 though, it becomes even more difficult to gank a Lulu, because her ultimate, Whimsy, and the shield and the slow helps her to survive, for example in this case. But if they don't send somebody top, she has still some kill pressure, even without ignite. For example, in this clip you can see that Alistar somehow goes out of mana, he can't use his ultimate anymore, and he underestimates my ultimate, my HP boost, and my shield, so he pays the price with his life. After the first towers have gone down, mid-game arrives. So this means skirmishes start to happen more frequently and teamfights break out, or the first teamfights break out. But you don't initiate usually as Lulu, you usually help somebody else initiate. Speed boost is pretty strong, for example for somebody like Leona, who can chase the enemies, jump in, stun them, and you can jump in afterwards and kill them. In other cases, when you want to dive your enemies, Lulu is very strong as well, because she actually helps with her ultimate and shield a lot, and even if a dive wasn't that good to begin with, you can still save the situation, so to say. Another reason why I love playing Lulu in the top lane is because it's so easy to bait your enemies. For example, in this clip you see that Warwick gets first kill and the second kill, and Alistar doesn't go back. He stays and tries to finish off Leona because he thinks he can kill her, but my shield is very strong because I'm building full AP obviously, and that's why she survives and Alistar pays the price with his life. Lulu can bait so well because she can escape so well. And this means that people like to chase you even though they probably should not. In this case, Lee Sin chases way too far, and Warwick notices this and just jumps at him with his ultimate and kills him off with the help of Syndra, so that's a free kill for us. Solo queue tower diving is pretty chaotic, and Lulu helps with that as well, pretty much as I showed earlier, but I just want to show it again. Her shield is very strong, and also her whimsy can be used so people can escape the tower aggro range, so to say, a bit faster. Playing from behind certainly isn't easy, but Lulu manages that just fine as well. In this clip, Fizz is definitely stronger than Lissandra, but a good ultimate, shield and whimsy helps her to survive. Your W is very versatile, just like your whole kit. In this clip I use it again to speed up my ally Blitzcrank, who has his own movement speed steroid as well. He manages to catch somebody and we get another kill and get back in the game once again. But still, you're very squishy and you don't want to give up kills for free, so in this clip I ulted Blitzcrank because I thought they would focus him and I had to flash out, otherwise I would have died. Lulu is super strong at disrupting the enemy assassination attempts. In this clip, for example, the enemy forces a team fight and is still ahead. Fizz tries to jump in, but ultimate, polymorph and shield is simply too much for him and he pays the price with his life. Lulu doesn't only help to catch an enemy off guard, she also helps to escape from the enemy team. For example, in this clip we managed to pull off a pretty good team fight, but afterwards everybody's so low, we have to be extremely careful. The enemy Fizz is on his way to kill us all. He's already seeing a triple kill in his eyes probably, but a good glitter lance slows him down, and a second glitter lance, because of its low cooldown, helps to stop Thresh in his tracks, so he can't initiate on us either. Now it's time for the late game. Everybody has his core items and we can finally teamfight 5v5, but sometimes the enemy gets a little excited. In this clip, Fizz once again tries to jump on Leona and your shield and polymorph is too much for him. He dies once again, and Lulu is very strong at extending a lead as well. For example, in this clip you can see that I definitely try to help Leona as much as I can, but she still dies later, sadly. I get kicked into Vayne and Lee Sin, and Sonya's Hourglass is very strong, for example, because of scenarios like this. It helps you survive and, yeah, push on for the win. Let's look at a team fight at half speed. In this case, Pantheon forces a fight and cuts our escape route off. I have to ultimate, or put my ultimate on Xerath so I can survive, use Sonya's to negate a bit of damage, for example the Graves ultimate. Then try to stay back because you're pretty squishy without the ultimate and shield up. Try to polymorph the enemies if they are too close, so you can finish them off, and Glitter Lance does a lot of damage in the late game, so that's another reason why Lulu can do a lot of damage as well with a full AP build. In this last teamfight I'm going to show you, you can see her strengths again. We are still behind, but we are doing Baron, and the enemy Fizz, who is fat, tries to jump in. His ultimate doesn't hit anyone and my shield negates most of the damage on Blitzcrank, but he still tries to go in and kill our Caitlyn. The good thing is that my ultimate is very strong, and this is what you want to do in solo queue if you want to win. You need just one guy who is farmed well and you can help peel for him and win the game. That was my Lulu guide, hope you enjoyed it. You can also follow me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for watching, bye bye.